I'm joined today by our good friend and partner, Gary Bartlings, with whom we've worked on our past around the world by private jet itineraries, as well as our Silk Road by private jet itinerary. Gary founded Bartlings more than a decade ago to bring private jet touring to new audiences through partnerships with tourism and lifestyle brands. Gary has worked in senior leadership roles in travel since 1987 for a variety of travel companies in his native Netherlands, the UK, Germany, and Australia. Since 2005, he has been involved in private jet tours, initially for an Australian luxury tour operator and more recently for both UK and American travel companies. Having been personally involved in more than 30 tours by private jet, creating and delivering unique tours, exclusive experiences, and luxury stays are all hallmarks of what Gary focuses on. So we're thrilled to have Gary's expertise to lead our inaugural private jet expedition to Africa. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gary, and he'll get us started.
Vanessa, thank you so much for that very warm welcome. And I'm delighted to be here today to talk about two things that are really close to my heart, the continent of Africa and traveling there by private jet. And the first thing I really want to do is just to talk a little bit about the benefits of having one of those private jets taking you across a continent the size of Africa, where tourism infrastructure and flight schedules are limited, and where it often means that if you want to travel and see many different destinations, you have to go back and forth, all of which takes a lot of time and can cause a lot of anxiety. So using a private jet makes this a lot easier. As a matter of fact, if we go through this and look at the itinerary that we put together for you, the trip that you see and the trip you can book on for next year covers so many different destinations that if you wanted to do this by normal scheduled air, you would require almost an additional 60 hours. That's right, 60 hours of traveling time. So there is a better way, and that is the way we do it with Orbridge, by chartering our own jet to take you across destinations. Now, the jet is always an exciting part of a journey like this, but I'll talk a little bit about what also makes it so easy to travel on a private jet. But first of all, our Boeing 767. This aircraft is fitted out with 72 forward-facing seats, a lounge area, and a stand-up bar. An aircraft this size can normally have over 200 people. We will travel with between 50 to 60 people to see the destinations on the itinerary. So very comfortable. As you can see, it's got two aisles, so it's easy to move along. And as I mentioned, it's got those lounge areas, and they become a very popular part, particularly on longer sectors. You can see the lounge area here, illustrated under the dining on board scenario. The lounge is actually an area for people to relax. And what I find often is people go and sit there, they compare photos they've taken, they talk about the things they've done, they share memories, or they just have a drink, play cards. It's a nice social area. And I just challenge you to think back at the last time you went on an aircraft and had to travel and thought to yourself, wouldn't it be nice to travel on an aircraft in a way that they used to do in the past? Well, this is the way to do it with the Orbridge trip. Now, on board dining, as it says there, dining is of course included, is high-end catering, including different drink options, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And as I mentioned before, a stand-up bar as well. A number of times I've stood at that bar talking to participants, clients who travel on this, and looking at the map, enjoying a drink, and exploring the options that we're going to be seeing as we go along the journey. One of the things that's really close to my heart, and this is what we build Bartlings on, is to make travel easy. Now, it's one thing to have a wonderful jet to sit on, and often referred to as a home away from home by our travelers, but you have to get to the jet first. And again, I challenge you to think back at the last time you took a flight, the 3 hours to turn up at the airport before you fly, the waiting in the queue for checking in with your luggage, then waiting at immigration and security before you can finally board the plane with hundreds of other people. The way we do it on these trips is slightly different. We try to take away all of that hassle for you. So as an example, when we start the journey, you will leave your luggage, your checked luggage outside your room, your hotel room. We'll collect it. We'll take it to the airport, check it all in for you. And at this stage, you're still at the hotel enjoying your breakfast. By the time you arrive at the airport, you're all checked in. You show your passport, get your local boarding pass. Through security, we've got to do that everywhere, and that's probably a good thing. And then on board the aircraft, where the crew will be waiting with your favorite drink and for you to relax. And that's one aspect that a lot of our clients comment on, is that the crew stays the same. And eventually, by the end of the trip, I've been in so many situations where passengers walk off the aircraft almost in tears because they're going to miss the crew they've traveled with and shared experiences with over the duration of this trip. Okay, well, let's jump in. Let's look at this continent here, the continent of Africa. If you look at it on the map, you think, oh, that's okay. It is massive. It's absolutely massive. And as I mentioned before, the infrastructure is limited. So if you want to see a lot of places in Africa, it's not that easy to do by scheduled air. As I said, it can be done, but you have to allow yourself a lot of additional hours to do so. So very briefly, this itinerary, it starts in London and ends in London. So you fly scheduled flights to London to start the journey, and at the end you return from there again as well. The main destinations, Marrakesh in Morocco, Walvis Bay and Sissley in Namibia, Cape Town in South Africa, Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, Nosy Be in Madagascar, Nairobi, then on to Damara in Kenya, and Cairo in Egypt before returning to London. Okay, let's start the journey and see what we've got in store for you when you join our trip. Okay, you arrive into London. It's most likely you'll be on an overnight flight from the US. You'll be met at the airport and taken to the Rosewood Hotel in London. We're only there for one night, but it's a time to get in, to relax, refresh a little bit, and that evening, that first evening, to meet your fellow travelers as well as the tour team. We'll go through some of the housekeeping items before we rest for the night, and then the next morning we make our way to London Stansted Airport for the first journey on our aircraft. From London, we'll fly to Marrakesh in Morocco. Now, if you haven't been to Morocco, it's quite a fascinating destination. I've been lucky enough to be to Marrakesh a few times, as well as Rabat, and there's always something going on in Morocco. Now, on the screen there, you can see in the corner is the square, Jemaa El Fna Square. It's an ancient square, well known for its trading over the millennia, and this is a fascinating place to go to. Just around that square, just above the squares, are different cafes where you can sit outside on the terrace, have a traditional tea, and just look at life underneath you. People trading, people trying to sell, people making music, or even snake charmers. And then off that square, you've got the various lanes with the souks where you can do some shopping. Now, apart from that, it's got a number of UNESCO listed sites as well, which we'll be visiting. And for the 2-night stay in Marrakesh, we'll be staying in La Mamounia, arguably one of the best hotels, not only in Morocco, but of the world. After our 2 nights in Marrakesh, we join our flight for what is actually the longest sector on this itinerary. It's about 8 hours to fly to Walvis Bay in Namibia. Now, here's an interesting fact for you to consider when you think about a private plane and the benefits of it. Now, Walvis Bay in Namibia, the airport is only open at certain times of the day because there's very limited direct flights coming into Walvis Bay. So for our aircraft, they actually extend the opening hours to welcome us, especially into Namibia. I think that's a really special experience. We're 1 night in Swakopmund. We'll go back to the airport the day after, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the time we arrive into Walvis Bay, it'd be too late for us to jump on the smaller aircraft that will take us into Sissley National Park. So we stay in Swakopmund, and I actually think that's a real benefit because there you get a real taste of what Namibia, of course, in the past, a German colony, is all about. The Strand Hotel in Swakopmund is very, very nice. You have 1 night there, some sightseeing the next morning, and then we make our way back to the airport, and on small aircraft, we make our way into Sissley National Park. Now, that's not just a flight of saying, I need to get from A to B. This is quite amazing. I actually did this last year on a trip, and you go and follow the coast. You see the remnants of shipwrecks. You see the dunes. You even see the animals along the way because it's flying quite low. It's small aircraft. It's about 12 to 16 people maximum, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes before we get to a landing strip near the lodge. The lodge is literally a stone throw away from the landing strip. We'll make our way to Sossusvlei Lodge, where we're going to be again for 2 nights. Now, you see on the screen there, you see the red dunes, and that's what this part of Namibia is famous for. And the image actually doesn't do it justice. The colors, the vibrancy of the colors is totally amazing. And you can see that contrasting here in particular against a very blue sky. The lodge itself is very, very attractive, well positioned. It's all low-rise buildings, and it's communal dining in the evening. And when you sit there, you see on the other image there, you sit there, you often see animals passing, in particular the oryx. And the oryx is the national animal of Namibia. And then the next day, we travel around. There's so much to see in that part, and we're going four-wheel drives. And we make our way to, for example, Detvlei, where you see the very old 700 to 800-year-old dead tree standing in the dry desert, but also see the different dune formations. And then you look at it, you go, how is this possible that this is so red and so colored? I won't tell you, because you will learn that on the trip when you go to Namibia. Okay, so the second night in Sossusvlei, and then we take the small aircraft back to Walvis Bay, and we'll fly to Cape Town. And in Cape Town, where we are again for 2 nights, we'll be staying at the Mount Nelson Hotel, which is a property run by Belmont. It's right underneath, as such, on the foot of the Table Mountain, probably one of the most famous parts of Cape Town as a city. Well, we do the trip in the morning that we are in Cape Town. We do the trip up to the Table Mountain. The morning is normally the best time to do it, particularly if there's inclement weather coming up or clouds, then you can't see as far. But in the morning, when you go up to the tabletop of the mountain, you have a great view out over the countryside into the sea, and you can go and see as far as Robben Island. Now, what they've done with the itinerary here, which I think is really, really good, they do that. Orbridge does that experience in the morning with Table Mountain, and then the afternoon you have a range of included options. So there's no additional costs, included options. And one of those, which I highly recommend, is Robben Island. Now, Robben Island is the island that Nelson Mandela was incarcerated. He spent many, many years there, as you're probably aware. When I did that tour there, and that is quite a few years ago now, there was former inmates of Robben Island taking you around. And I must say, it's quite a moving experience to visit this place and think about the inspirational journey of Nelson Mandela coming off the island, eventually becoming the president of South Africa. So 2 nights in Cape Town. Cape Town is a great city. It's right on the waterfront. There's great options for dining. You have a free night for dining in Cape Town. There's great options for food there. It's really inexpensive, and it's very of the highest quality. From Cape Town, and this is the thing that I like so much about an itinerary like this, is the diversity, because here you go from a city, and it is a world city, Cape Town, and you go to Victoria Falls. And Victoria Falls is just a totally different experience. To fly into the Victoria Falls airport, again, we got 2 nights here, and we stay at the Victoria Falls Safari Lodge. And that adds the benefit that apart from the falls, which are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you also have the chance, because of where the lodge is located near the watering holes, to see animals. And there's some really great places you can sit and just see the animals coming for water. But of course, the main reason people go is to go and see Victoria Falls. And I reckon they're one of the great falls in the world. Victoria Falls they were found by Cecil Rhodes, who of course also founded what's now known as Zimbabwe, but was formerly known as Rhodesia. And he named Victoria Falls Victoria after Queen Victoria from England at the time. You also make the train journey across that bridge there, and that's part of what his vision was of a Cape to Cairo train journey. Just imagine, if you think back of that map I showed you at the beginning, the distances that were involved to be able to connect Cape Town with Cairo in the north by train. Quite extraordinary. So as I said, we've got 2 nights here. And I continue to be amazed when I look at this itinerary, because next stop here is Madagascar. And I often talk to people about Madagascar and they say, well, I wouldn't just go to Madagascar. And I can sort of get that. I've been there a few times, mainly to the capital city, Antananarivo, which is interesting. But we've made a better choice here. We're going to Nosy and the northwestern side of the island. And I'll tell you why it's better. Some of the groups that I've taken to Madagascar and gone to Antananarivo, which has got lots of international hotel opportunities, it hasn't got the lemurs. And to me, you go to Madagascar to see the lemurs. And if you want to see them in Antananarivo, the capital, you got to go to the zoo. But what's the point traveling all the way to Madagascar to go to a zoo to see lemurs? Here in Nosy, in the northwest part of Madagascar, you will see it in the wild. And I think that's a really incredible experience. And of course, it's an indigenous animal to Madagascar. It's unique. And what we've done in Madagascar, we've got a professor who can talk about these animals and providing a lecture. It's optional. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. But I think you'll find it a very interesting experience to hear about lemurs and the fact that it's an indigenous animal to Madagascar. We do a number of other excursions here, of course, and sites as well. And from there, it's on to Nairobi. Now, this is probably for most people the more traditional view that people will have on Africa, which is all about game viewing, the big five. So we fly to Nairobi, and so the capital city, and then again, like we did in Namibia, we move over to a smaller aircraft. In this case, it's larger than the ones that we used in Namibia. But then we go into the Masai Mara, and that's where we're going to stay for 3 full nights. This is the place where you will be up early, but you won't mind, because this is the time that the animals are out. You will be out later, but again, you won't mind. It's the time that the animals are out. They're not out during the full day of the sunshine. They stay hidden, so you won't see them. But you go out and you will have the chance to see the big five. And I think one of the things I always say to people with safaris, even if you have done a safari before, every safari is different, because every time what happens on safari will be different from the previous time, because it's run by the animal kingdom, and they don't listen to what we tell them what to do. They'll just go and say, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And that's what I love about doing safaris. Every time you will see different animals in different situations, and it's a really highlight. Apart from that, from the animals, it's also, of course, the area of the indigenous population. And we go to one of the Maasai villages and learn a little bit about their life and how they live together with the animals and what the animals mean to them. And I think it's a real nice educational aspect to it, because Africa is so much more than just going to see animals. You'll see there we've got a couple of different camps there. And as I said, we're there for 3 nights. So really, really fantastic experience, including, which I highly recommend, is a hot air balloon over the Mara first thing in the morning. Again, it's an early start. I have seen some photos of people that have done these trips on other tours that I've been involved with, and the photography is just sensational, because you're very quietly gliding over the landscape, over the Mara in this case, and the animals are below you. You're in this big and safe basket underneath the hot air balloon, and the only sound that you will hear now and then is the hot air going up into the balloon to keep you floating. But the scenery that you will see, not just below you, but just across the plains, is absolutely amazing. And I think it's something that will stay with you for the rest of your life when you do it. But of course, there comes an end to this too. So after that, we go back on the smaller aircraft, make our way back to Nairobi, and then back onto the private aircraft. And then we make our way north to the final stop on this itinerary before we return to London, which is in Cairo. So we have 2 nights again in Cairo. Now, some of you, or many of you, will have been to Cairo before. Maybe not many of you have been to the Grand Egyptian Museum. It's only opened a few years ago. The previous museum was, I guess, a very low-key environment. It wasn't that great in the center of Cairo. And what they did is they built a whole new museum. They say it's the largest museum in the world, and it's parked right near the pyramids. As a matter of fact, in some places, if you walk up, you can see the pyramids through the windows. It's been designed that way. And if you walk up to the building, you see the design of the museum has got that sort of pyramid design. So you got a private tour of the museum. You also go visit the pyramids themselves, of course, and the Sphinx. And then the final night in Cairo, we have a special dinner overlooking the pyramids. And of course, the pyramids are lit up at night. It's a really special way to end what I believe is a magnificent tour. We have 2 nights there at the Marriott Mena House Hotel. That hotel, you can see in that corner image, is right outside of the pyramids. And you'll have dinner there, you have breakfast there, and you see the pyramids just basically towering above you on the other side of the fence. So a really great location. After that, sadly, we know we need to go back. And I always find that the last flight on these trips are exciting because you have so many shared memories, existing friends or new friends that you made on this trip, as well as the crew, as I mentioned earlier. There's so much to share. And the flight, without want to sort of make it a very cheesy comment, but the flight will fly by and you wish it was going on for longer. As a matter of fact, I often get asked by people saying, can we just stay a bit longer on the aircraft? Can you just do a few rounds and just keep flying around for a bit longer? And that's the experience that they have, and they love it that much. Anyway, we come back into London, back into that same terminal. At Stansted, it's a private terminal on the way out and on the way back as well. And then from there, we take transport, which takes us to Windsor. Windsor, just effectively west of London itself, just outside the main motorway around the M25, and not too far from Heathrow. And that's why it's been chosen. It's a very easy transfer in the morning if you have to catch your flight to back to the US. And apart from that, it's a beautiful hotel as well. You can see it on the screen at the moment. It's a real grand hotel, and it's a really nice way to finish a trip like that. So there you go. That's South Africa by private jet. I am going to be on this trip next year, and I'm very much looking forward to it, and I hope you will join me. I've also been asked to briefly mention to you, and Vanessa already said at the beginning, is that we started with this trip. The very first trip we operated with Orbridge was in 2024. So coming up 2 years ago now. Third one is operating this year. And this tour you see on the screen is for October, November next year. It really is a who is who in the world of amazing things created by mankind. And we're starting this again in London, but in this occasion, other than different from the African trip, we have a number of nights in London because you make a day trip out to Stonehenge and Avebury. So it's a couple of hours away from London. It's a day trip, a guided day trip, and to explore the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Stonehenge. Then from there, we go to Cairo, and we have just been to Cairo on the African trip. So a similar experience, but of course, when this is the case and you want to do something different, you can always ask Orbridge what the options might be. From Cairo to Jordan and to Petra. Now, Petra, again, is in my view, an amazing site built by the Nabateans. There's only one other place that I'm aware of a similar scale, which is in Saudi Arabia. And it looks very similar to the one in Petra, but the Petra one is very accessible and an amazing place to visit. Then from Jordan, we go to India and we visit three places in India. Now, India is right up there with one of my favorite destinations. It is not for everyone. It's busy, it's noisy, but at the same time, it's very colorful and very interesting to visit. We fly into Delhi. We have one night in Delhi. You go to Delhi Old Town before you make your way by road to Agra. And Agra, of course, is the home of the Taj Mahal, the monument to love. You're there for 2 nights, staying in the Oberoi Hotel. Now, in India, on this itinerary, you're staying in all Oberoi hotels, which is really, really fantastic because our hotels are absolutely amazing. And this one in particular in Agra is really something else because from your rooms, you will see the Taj Mahal. Some rooms will have terraces or balconies, and you can stand there, you can see the Taj Mahal in the distance. Then from there, by road, we make our way to Jaipur as the final stop in India. And again, lesser known Jaipur, but what a gem with some amazing places to visit. And again, these are all included on the itinerary. We rejoin the aircraft. Our private plane is waiting for us in Jaipur and takes us to Cambodia. And Cambodia, of course, we go to Siem Reap, the home of Angkor Wat, the temples of Angkor Wat. And again, man-made structures, quite an extraordinary site to visit. We're here for 3 nights, so you have a bit more extra time to do some alternative touring as well, which is all included as per the normal Orbridge approach. After Cambodia, we make our way to Vietnam. We stay in Hanoi for a couple of nights, and the day that we're in Vietnam, we make our way to Ha Long Bay, again, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we do a cruise along the rock formations in the water there in the bay. And then from Vietnam, the final stop here is Muscat in Oman, a place that not many people are familiar with, but it's quite an extraordinary destination to visit. One of the most friendliest nationalities in the Middle East, I'd say, with a real warm hospitality. We'll welcome you to Oman. One of the key sites here is slightly more modern than the previous places that you visit, but it's still an incredible building, which is the Sultan Qaboos Mosque in Oman. So you go in there to learn more about the Muslim religion. Then from Oman, we fly back to London for one more night in London before you head back home. So that is the private jet around the world, operating October, November 2027. You can see some imagery here, Stonehenge, and as you can see, this is all man-made creations. Stonehenge, the Taj Mahal, you name it. Apart from Ha Long Bay, not man-made. Here we go. Now, I put on the screen here the details of Vivian. I've traveled with Vivian on the very first tour, which was a complete delight. She's very knowledgeable, and she's your expert and dedicated concierge for these programs. Any questions that she can't answer, she will get in touch with me and I will help her. We're here to assist you to make a decision, and we really very much look forward to you joining us on the African or the private jet around the world journey next year. Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you so much for this incredible behind the scenes look. Having had the pleasure of joining our Around the World tour in 2024, I can speak personally to the fellow travelers and this amazing crew that you have sourced, Gary, becoming friends throughout this journey. At the end, we were truly sad to part ways. It was an incredible bonding experience that we had. We have a few questions, and I'll assist if I can with any of them. The first one, Gary, is do I need to be in very good shape to take this tour?
Well, most of the, as I say, the heavy lifting is done by us as far as things like luggage is concerned. So that is the least of your concern traveling on this trip. For the touring itself, some mobility would be helpful, particularly if you think about some of the places we go to. As long as you can get around, that will be, I think, quite important.
Terrific. Another question that came up, what does the price cover?
Well, Vanessa, you better correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a fairly much an inclusive journey from London to London. It's rare that you have to put your hand in your own pocket. I think rather than wondering about do I have to pay for meals? It's generally included. There are some free nights, and to be honest with you, most people like that. The ability to either with a fellow traveller or with some new friends to have dinner together is something that most people welcome. But generally speaking, it's a very much an inclusive tour price.
You know, you mentioned, Gary, that it is Orbridge's model to include nearly everything in the cost of the tour, and thanks for mentioning that. You're right. This is true on this tour as well. So with the exception of the flight to and from London, this tour includes your gratuities, your visa fees, and even medevac insurance for every traveler. So very much an inclusive tour. Another question that we have from one of our participants. I understand the Mena House has been purchased recently and is under complete renovation. Will it be completed soon?
Well, that's it's news to me, and that's why I love doing these things because you always pick up up little things. And I'm not aware of that, but I will certainly investigate, and I'm sure Orbridge will as well, to find out what the situation is with the renovation. Last time I stayed in the Manor House, I might agree it probably could do with a lick of paint here and there, but at the same time, extremely comfortable hotel. And one of the key things to me with that hotel is its location. I forgot to mention it, but it goes for both Africa and for the round the world. We from this year, but also next year, we'll be flying in and out of Sphinx Airport, and as opposed to the main Cairo International. Cairo International is a very busy airport. We make it as easy as possible for you, but it can be challenging at times. Having used Sphinx this year for the first time, I can tell you it's a world of difference. It's also much closer to the pyramids and therefore the Marriott Hotel. And that means that the process of arriving and departing is much smoother.
That is a wonderful enhancement, the Sphinx Airport. Quickly to the question regarding the Mena House, we do work with the Mena House on our Egypt program as well, and we know that the old palace section of the hotel has been under renovations for some time and will be reopening as the JW Marriott. But the section that we use with the pyramid view rooms on this program has not been affected. So it is business as usual with those rooms. So it will not affect this tour in any way.
Fantastic.
Let's see. One other, what kind of weather should we expect in Africa? And is it an ideal time to explore the continent of Africa?
I think it's one of those. It's a great question, first of all, but it's one of those really challenging situations. Of course, if you look at the size of the continent, then you realise that you're going to be covering a number of I guess, climate zones. And starting in Morocco, we're still in winter, and then we move across the equator into Namibia, and we're in the summer months, towards the end of the summer, to be true. My advice with any of these trips is one, we plan them for what I call the in-between season, so not the winter and not the summer, but more likely in spring or in fall. And the other thing is we used to say, dress like an onion, have layers, because it can be, and take Namibia, for example, it can be cool in the morning, but as it warms up, you want to take a layer off. That's the best advice I can give you as far as clothing is concerned.
That's terrific advice. Thanks. If anyone has any additional questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A button at the top of your screen. But I just had one for you, Gary. What is your favorite experience on this tour? Your personal favorite?
Wow. Now that's putting me on the spot. And look, Africa as a whole is, to me, is an extraordinary destination. The variety of experiences that you get on this makes it very hard to pick a favorite one. I'm probably more of an outdoor nature person than a city. So in line with that, I would probably put towards the bottom of my list places like Cairo, Marrakesh, and even Cape Town. But Namibia was I was there last year. It was just so extraordinary. And it's not just the sights, the people. It's just the whole experience itself. Victoria Falls. Well, there's just not much to say about it. We had a wonderful experience last year when we were actually doing a cruise on the Zambezi River, returning to the hotel. And lo and behold, we get to the jetty, and there is not one, two massive elephants standing at the jetty. So we couldn't disembark. We had to move to another part of the river. And that's something I will never forget. And to top all of that, we had an outdoor dinner that evening. So we came off the boat, we went to the outdoor dinner. It was wonderful, barbecue style, and it was some local entertainment and dancing. And next we hear heavy, heavy sounds. And it was those elephants at the jetty passing at the back, not anywhere near us, so no danger at all, but passing and passing the hotel. And I thought that was just an extraordinary experience. But then safaris, you can't beat them. Lemurs in Madagascar. I mean, there is so much in this trip. There really isn't one particular place that I can say it's the best of all. I hope that counts.
That's fantastic. That I couldn't think of a better answer. It sounds thrilling. Well, thank you. I think we've answered all of the questions. If you have any specifics that you didn't want to put in the chat or mention now, please feel free to reach out to our team. Vivian is absolutely an expert. She's been on the jet, as Gary mentioned, so she is ready to answer any questions that you have about Africa, around the world. No question is silly. Please reach out to her. And thanks so much for making the time to join us. A huge thank you to you, Gary, for being a great partner and for helping walk us through this incredible itinerary.
Vanessa, absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And for those people that have watched it today, thank you for your time. I really genuinely hope to be able to welcome you on the trip next year.
Thanks so much.